So, hello and welcome to the Tactical Podcast, episode 2, with myself, Zach, and with
Honor,
Honor.
we're
Yeah,
back. We're back.
yeah, we're back finally. It's been a long week. So, we're gonna kick things off with obviously the elephant in the room, if you like, with what we're wearing. So obviously, as you can tell, I'm wearing a Turkey training kit, and Honor's wearing a Galatasaray shirt with half of it covered. So because I'm a Besiktas fan, so it's fine. It's very good.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
humble
So
fans.
So obviously, the reason why we're wearing these shirts is obviously because of what has happened in Turkey and Syria, with over 20,000 deaths
Yeah,
from an earthquake that
I
has
believe so.
really taken us both by surprise, the whole world by surprise. But we've been deeply affected by it. I mean, especially the whole from what has happened. And yeah, we want to obviously we thoughts and prayers and solidarity are with the Turkish people
100%.
and Turkish people and the Syrian community people as well. And we're going to put in the comments, or not in the comments, in the bio, in the description, the reliable charities for you to donate, because obviously they're in urgent need of our donations, and anything that you can donate, be it a pound, dollar, or euro, will be very, very valuable. Will
Hu-
go a very long way.
100%, and obviously, like that sort of tragedy brings into perspective life. Really, like what we're gonna talk about today is sort of nothing. They're dropping the water in comparison to what people are there suffering, and we're privileged to be able to even do something like this. But yeah, we want to use this sort of start to raise awareness and hopefully be able to bring in some donations to that can help people out there and things like that. Of course, like condolences to anyone that's lost any family or has been affected in any way. Like, it's a very awful tragedy and yeah, I think on that note, we'll move into the football. But yeah, as I said, we'll leave something in the bio, and please go and donate. Like even £5 is can do so much in Turkey. That's about how many? That's about 100 lira. That can buy a good amount of bread, water, things like that. Just essentials, just any little thing. That's a Starbucks coffee in England. That can help feed someone for a few days in Turkey. So please do what you can, man.
Yeah, and there are the people in Turkey and Syria are suffering badly, and they are in urgent need of our assistance. So really, a donation would would make a big difference and go a long way. People are in need of shelter, warm blankets, especially given the weather conditions there, food, water, yeah, and clothing as well. So those donations will be really valuable, as Una said. Even a £5 donation it's 100 liras, which can get you a lot and can help a lot of people. So yeah, without further ado, we want to address the question that I put in my Instagram story about which manager has more credit in the bank. And I must say I'm quite surprised by the response. I mean, a lot of people participated, and it showed that 62% uh,
Yeah,
favored Guardiola, saying that he has more credit in the bank, and Klopp has only 38%. So yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, personally, I was veering towards that view, but we're gonna have a discussion about it, because I don't think me and you agree. But let's just
no,
provide some
no.
context about Liverpool, mainly because they're having one of those
Do,
unprecedented
do we have
seasons.
to? Do we have to?
Yeah, I think people need to know, because we're in
Boy,
2023, and
big
the
time.
form table doesn't lie in this case. So, just for context, Liverpool have only taken 1 point from 12 and conceded 9 league goals and only scored one. Um, they've scored. An interesting fact, actually, is that they conceded 3 goals in the last
Like, I can
three.
see the smile on your face. I can see the smile on your face right now. Like I know you're
I'm
enjoying
trying
this,
to.
but keep
I'm
going,
trying.
keep going, keep going, keep
Yeah,
going.
well, the context is very important, so I'm just very passionate about
Yeah,
this
yeah,
because
yeah. Of course,
yeah,
man.
conceded 3 goals in the last 3 away games in the Premier League for the first time since 1993. Well, I mean,
Hmm.
those were the glory days, even though none of us were born there, but I know they were good times. Um, but overall, they've conceded 28 goals in 20 games, which is more than last season when they conceded only 26 in 38 games. And it's as many, by the way, as their next opponents, their rivals, Everton. So with that context out of the way, many facts. Yeah, it seems that Klopp is having one of those seasons, one of those ECs, extenuating circumstance seasons, and apparently the credit is not enough to get him by. He might need to go through Klarna. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised really of the outcome in terms of credit in the bank. I think with me, I see sort of credit as your sort of what you have with the fans and with the club in terms of your when things are going bad, how much they'll stick by you. And I just think the season that we're having, as I've said, if Pep was having this season at City, he wouldn't be here anymore. And that's what I think credit in the bank is. And that's partly due to the ownership, obviously Liverpool's ownership. They've sort of struck gold with Klopp. So I think it doesn't matter where we finish this season, he's not going anywhere. Regardless if fans want him out or not, I don't think he'll be going anywhere just because of what he's done for us, where he took us from and to where we are now. City, they would have won titles regardless of Pep. Maybe not in the comprehensive manner that they've won it, but I think the City ownership do recognise that they will win titles with or without Pep. Might not be as silky and as smooth and the nice style of football that they play, but they will win titles just purely because of the money. That might change, and that's another topic for another time. But yeah, in terms of credit in the bank, this is the question I propose to you. If Pep is having the same season as Klopp, is he still here?
Well, no, but will Pep ever have that kind of season at City? No, I don't think he can.
Could do.
Really, I mean, is it really though? Which is more likely?
Why
I mean,
not?
obviously.
Why not? Why not?
Given the players that he's got and given the,
Yeah, but look at the players we've got.
But he's backed, isn't he? That's the point.
I get it, but we were on the verge of we were 1.5 games away from a quadruple last season. Nobody predicted we'd fall off like this to this extent. So it can happen to anybody. Yeah. And if Klopp, if Pep is in this situation, then I will write it right here. You can clip this right now. He will be gone. There's no way that he'll be in the job. So in my eyes, I think Klopp has more credit in the bank, in my opinion. That not to say he's a better manager or anything. I'm not saying that. Again, that's a different topic. Mm-hmm. But in terms of credit in the bank at the club, I think Klopp's credit in the bank is a lot more than Pep's, to be honest.
Well, because Pep has won how many Premier League titles? I think there is that credit, and obviously he's having more of a say given what's happening at City and given how he's dealt with Cancelo and how he's tinkering around. And that I feel like he's, if anything, he's having too much credit. I think he's just using that credit, spending it freely. The issue with Klopp is that it's happened before this kind of season, even though it is a COVID season. But then again, we can't, EC's extenuating circumstances. I mean, you can only have so many, to be fair, until it becomes really like, well, where do we go from here? I mean, if it's an inevitability that you're gonna have an EC, then ultimately it's up to the manager to make the most of what he's got. And that's the problem I think with Klopp that people are probably thinking about more, is that he's struggling to handle this situation given his tactical stubbornness, his meltdowns, and shutting off certain journalists. But how he's just handling things and the loyalty that's given to players. So it just shows that, and it's not working. If anything, maybe it's working against him. So some that the way he's reacted, I think, is a bit self-inflicted, as self-damaging. Whereas Pep obviously hasn't been in that situation, and expectations are different. A bad season for City will probably be probably third and below. Whereas Liverpool, a bad season probably be below the top four. So Klopp, Pep has not been in that situation, and whenever in his first season when he just got fourth, I think, he was, he wasn't particularly happy but he was backed and the City trusted in him. Whereas, and that was in a early start, I guess, a transition or whatever setting in. But with Klopp, because he's had these ups and downs, and because he seems to have not learned from previous lessons in terms of managing the squad, the loyalty, the changing of system, etc. I think people are starting to grow a bit tired, maybe, of Klopp from beyond the Liverpool point of view, from just a neutral point of view. I think people are just looking at it from afar and saying, Klopp he's not making the best out of that squad. Maybe, I mean, over relying on that midfield. We don't know what's the involvement with the midfield. I mean, who has a say, etc. But he doesn't seem to come across very well in that sense. Whereas Pep, you can say what you want about Pep, but he's going to be back. But also the structure. If you think about it like this, the structure is built around Pep. I mean, he's got his best friend from Barcelona there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to get. Whereas Klopp, chopping and changing with the sporting director, means suggests there is some sort of instability, some sort of tension there.
Yeah.
So that's probably why people are thinking about it from that point of view.
Well, I'd argue the fact that they have sort of, well, not preferred, but they've chosen Klopp over the sporting directors, which looks like maybe means he has more credit in the bank, and then they're going with that. The fact that I think the fact that Klopp hasn't been backed by FSG isn't an indicator that they don't trust him. It's just they don't spend money out of we spend what we generate. That's it. To be honest, we don't even spend what we generate. I'll be honest. That's not. I don't think that's an indicator of them not backing or backing Klopp. I just think that's how they are. And yeah, as I said, the structural change that we're going through, sort of Michael Edgen and Julian Ward going, shows that they're happy to let crucial elements outside of Klopp leave to please Klopp. So,
but do you want that though? Do you want that though?
No, I don't.
He hasn't got a proven track record of having an eye for talent. Let's just say.
No. I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's not. But in terms of credit in the bank, I think it shows how much Liverpool believe in him. Whereas for Pep, would City compromise the overall structure just for Pep?
Well, they have the structure that he wants, so I guess it's built around him. So if he wants to change it, then he probably will have a say in having it changed.
Yeah, but in terms of, I don't know, if Pep was having this season and he proposed these changes, would they go for it? I don't think so. I think they'd rather get rid of Pep, and they know they can bring in whoever they want.
Well, maybe he might say it's because of that, because of the structure. That's probably why he's not doing well. So he could probably reverse that and say, we need to change the structure because we're not doing as well. And and you look at my proven track.
I think there's less room for that at City though, considering that they've got ridiculous depth everywhere. I think there might be less room for that, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I say Klopp does have more credit just because he's gone through 2 rubbish seasons and he's still here.
And, but how many rubbish seasons can he afford though? That's the thing.
I think this will be the last one. So if it ends up being a rubbish season, if it's still not finished at the moment, it's terrible. But if we end up finishing 4th, is it a rubbish season? Probably not.
Well, he saved it. It's not a good season, but he saved it. I guess.
Yeah, it's not a good season, but it's.
But he can't afford to have another season like that. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't think so. No.
Whereas I think Pep, he hasn't had one yet. If you want to count this one, perhaps yes, but he can.
I think the first season wasn't
long-term wise, though. I think if you think about credit long-term wise, given what's currently happened, maybe Klopp is on his last legs compared to Pep.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah,
that's what I think people are probably suggesting, and perhaps maybe people have that in mind in terms of credit, as in who is more of a sustainable manager in terms of who's going to last there for longer. Given, and obviously recency bias is a thing that people are going to pick on current form. But I can slightly understand. I mean, it's really a tough one, I must say. But yeah, we thought it would be 50-50, 49-51, something like a Brexit result, 48, 52, but 62-38 is quite comprehensive.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and also you mentioned FFP, which we won't go into, but that might work it could work in both favors, I guess. It can work. I mean, it can work for Pep, but it can also work against him as well. I mean, against him, basically, he walks out. But for him saying, look what's happened. This has become a massive distraction. It's affected our season. I'm being your spokesperson, and it's tiring me. So we're gonna have to. This is a hospital pass situation for me. So obviously, you're not gonna get results on the pitch if I'm spending half my time, focusing on other things. So, and then obviously, if the outcome is negative, then Pep walks out, and then obviously the credit is gone. I mean, he's used that credit to actually walk out, which is quite ironic. So, yeah, we shall see how it goes. But both managers really, I think, have enough credit to call the shots in terms of when they want to leave. Calling an end to their own times that.
Yeah, 100%,
respective clubs.
100%.
But yeah, no, that's a interesting take. I mean, maybe they have to look into the demographics of the voters. Maybe there's more, I don't know, United fans, and they're just against Liverpool generally. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. We'll have to
Putting it on
dive
my
into it.
story doesn't perhaps help. We should have put on a tactical podcast, but we don't have much of a
Mm,
following yet, so that's probably why I want to get as much
Not yet, no.
much exposure, much of a sample size. But yeah, I think that's probably it. I mean, FFP will be pretty interesting, so we shall see
Yeah.
what the outcome is. It's a long-winded, not a surprising situation, I must say, as a United fan. The cynics of us were thinking, there's something a bit dodgy going on. So,
Yeah.
allegedly,
Yeah.
when it has
Pretty obvious.
come to surface, we're not really surprised. We're actually
Allegedly. I think we'll say allegedly before we get sued.
Yeah, sued by Pep if he's watching. Yeah, Pep and Tiji and Sheikh Mansour.
Yeah, we might not be that big yet, but I ain't trying to take any chances.
Our words carry weight. We might have too much credit in the bank, more than we think. So
but we won't have any credit once they sue us.
Well, we'll be definitely on the Klarna. We'll be on the Klarna.
We'll be on the Klarna 100%.
Yeah, buy now, pay later. Yeah, that will be interesting. City fighting on all fronts. Our scenario and our case and the Premier League's case, that'll be quite interesting. Throwing no punches. So we'll move on to the next topic in the agenda, and this is something that I think interests both of us because this is where there's going to be a real discussion. I think the Enzo Enigma, as I titled it, because Enzo Fernandez, who is he? I mean, what position does he's a baller, and he played very well today. Assisted that goal for Joao Felix. But the question is, what position is he? Is he a 6? Is he a 4? Is he an 8? Is he a 10? Is he a Jude Bellingham, a 22? What is he?
Well, I think we have a bit of a disagreement here. I think under Schmidt at Benfica, under Schmidt at Benfica, he was deployed next to Florentino Luis in a 4-2-3-1. Florentino Luis is more of the typical sort of a destroyer type of midfielder, and Enzo Fernandez was the one that would get Benfica out of trouble with his sort of expansive passing range and ability to drive the ball forwards. Don't get me wrong, he still has brilliant defensive ability, but I just think, for me, Chelsea using him as a 6 is not going to get the best out of him. I think, you're limiting him in that aspect. You're giving him extra defensive duties that are going to take away from his passing game and his ability to play in the final third, to play passes into the final third. I think playing him next to a Kante, if he comes back fit, is ideal. I think that's the perfect midfield too. And then if I was Chelsea, I'd play him in a 2. I wouldn't play him in deep by himself. I think that would not be getting the best out of him. But he's a brilliant player, absolutely. Like I wanted him at Liverpool all day. I think he'd fit perfectly. Perfect Thiago replacement. I think he'd be absolutely brilliant. But as I said, he's not a 6 for me. He's not an 8. He's sort of in between. He's a deep line playmaker. That's what I'd call him. In the mode of, not as good as yet, but in the mode of the Xabi Alonso's and that sort of player. So what do you think?
Yeah. So for me, the issue is how we define. Well, number one, there's 2 issues. Number one, we don't have much of a sample size of Enzo Fernandez to really come and make a fully informed judgment. I mean, 17 domestic league games for Benfica and playing, I think, for River Plate for just over 50 games, and then obviously he's played in Argentina. So sample size is a bit difficult, and obviously you're just going to basically assess him based on what you see. And obviously my experiences when I was in Qatar and I was watching Argentina play, I saw him as he played in multiple systems, but I saw him at the base regardless of the midfield. And for me, a base implies it's a number 6. Another thing for me is the definition of a number 6. People often refer to a number 6 as a destroyer, but for me, I always refer to 6 as the deepest in the midfield. So that could be a deep line playmaker like a Pirlo. I saw him as a number 6, or a destroyer like a Makelele or Fabinho as a number 6. So you can perhaps even make that distinction, or further distinguish the 2 by saying a 6+, which is something that I would encourage. 6+, so more of an offensive number 6, and that probably will fit Enzo Fernandez. But yeah, personally, based on what I've seen him play in Argentina, you know, in the 4-4-2 play next to Paredes, and he was the deepest of the two. He played in the 4-3-3 or in the 5-3-2 for Argentina, and he was the deepest in that midfield three. So I saw him as the number 6, and the fact that he plays in that quarterback role, so he drops deep, makes, you know, reverse diagonal back into that kind of fullback position, or in the channels rather, between the fullback and the centre back, and then just pinging those balls over, made me think he's more of a number 6. I rarely see him actually, you know, run into the box or play box to box, you know, making those final. If anything, those final thirds are progressive passes rather than progressive runs. So it just makes it harder for me to see him as a number 8, where you need to have a bit of that, you know, that push forward. And I rarely see him in that situation. But yes, he does remind me actually of Thiago. So those, I like the way he receives the ball and he dictates the tempo. He's very quick actually. He's, you know, as soon as he receives the ball, he knows where he wants the ball to go. So he quickly switches the play, or quickly, you know, makes a decision, often very progressive. So he has that Thiago element to him, and he sets the tempo. He can slow it down, but he tends to be a bit more quick-minded rather than, you know, slow it down. So, like, you know, in a weird way, like Bruno Fernandes at United, obviously different position, but, you know, whenever he received the ball, he's known to just play those daredevil passes and just pass it forward, regardless of taking the time and regardless of how deep the opposition is, and, you know, pass it back or pass it square, which is nice to see, but obviously it's risky, but that's what he's known for. But often his passing accuracy is so good that it actually offsets any kind of, you know.
I wouldn't call him Bruno Fernandes though. I wouldn't say the passing wise, because I think Enzo Fernandez had a 92% pass completion rate at Benfica, which is ridiculous. Like,
no, but I mean, like the style, the minds, you know, what's the style? They're both looking it forward, obviously different positions and different accuracies and, you know, technique. But I'm talking about what they have in mind is to pass it forward into
of course,
space or into whatever. Be it
positive, always positive.
Yeah, very positive. But yeah, I mean, yeah, and yeah, it's weird because I think he might be a 6 and an 8 or a 6+ really, because he has elements. You know, you mentioned about him being a perfect signing to replace Thiago, but it could be the perfect signing to replace both Fabinho and Thiago, because he's got elements of both. The tackling, I'm not sure. I think he does, to be fair. I mean, if you have him as a single pivot in a 4-3-3, I think it would be perfect. I mean, it's works for Argentina, and he has the profile for it. I mean, the only issue is that his tacklings are very. I mean, he's made the record number of tackles in the World Cup since Gattuso in 2006. But the only issue is that sometimes it can be too rash. But I think he does have. I mean, and discipline probably is another thing. But just generally the style of play in terms of receiving the ball, having those diagonals, but also ability to hold the line if need be, make a tackle. You know, he has that aggression in him. So, and he can quite well.
I hear what you're saying, but I think, you know, World Cups are a totally isolated event in a bubble where the pace and the tempo isn't as high, and the physicality isn't as high as a Premier League, where, you know, you've got runners everywhere and things like that. I just think in the 6 he'd be wasted. In the 8, I think he'd be perfect for Liverpool. Literally where Thiago plays. I like the idea of a proper number, like a destroyer at the base of our midfield, for example. I think that's good. Like, for example, like Enzo Fernandez next to Casemiro at United, that would be perfect. But I wouldn't get Enzo Fernandez to replace Casemiro at United. I don't think that's a like for like.
Yeah, not a like for like, but I think he has elements. He has elements of Casemiro's game and Eriksen's game. That's what I'm trying to say. But the only issue is, as you said, we can't judge off World Cups. I mean, there's not really much you can really judge from. So that's I have to put it out there. I mean, he's an excellent passer, and he's kind of he's this kind of aggressive tackler and destroyer. So he's this kind of deep line playmaking destroyer, if you like. So he's a combination of many things, and that's what I said. Is he like a Jude Bellingham, this kind of 22 role now? I feel like, I mean, he has that element. The only thing with Enzo that I haven't seen yet, I mean, and I'm still waiting to see it in order to actually make that decision whether he's actually is those box to box runs or runs into into the half spaces. I mean, a lot of what we've seen of Enzo Fernandez is dropping deep and
I don't think he's that kind of player, though. I don't think he's that kind of player to be doing that, to be honest. I think, you know, I just think he's a deep line playmaker, and that's where his attributes and his game intelligence kicks in. You know, I don't think he'll ever use it now.
So if he's not a number 6 and he's a deep line playmaker, and the number 8 is more advanced, what number would you see him as then?
I don't know. Well, we might not have a number, Because
Might not be setting precedent then.
I say number 6 is a destroyer. That's what when I think of a number 6, I think of the Casemiro, Fabinho,
This is the FIFA
Makelele type. Yeah,
FIFA 20.
maybe, but I don't think historically.
CDM.
But for me, yeah, I don't think. I think he's just a guy that dictates play, really.
You see,
Yeah, in the Alonso goal. Really.
If you said that about about McAllister, what you were saying was to describe McAllister, I would have agreed with you. But I think because McAllister's more advanced and he has those elements of what you're saying, but because I just see him slightly deeper, more of a quarterback initially, I can't say 100%, pigeonhole him and say he's a number 6 or say he's a number 8 for sure. But for me, from what I've seen and basically from the way he plays, I mean, he likes to take a touch and set the pace of the game. Diagonals, and also destroyer. It just takes more of those number 6s than it does with those 8s. I need to see box to box. I need to see more runs. I need to see more mobility off the ball, into the final third, breaking those lines without the ball to make that judgment.
Would you say Jorginho's a number 6? Would you say Jorginho's a number 6?
Yeah, I would say he's a number 6.
You call him a number 6?
Yeah, I call him a number 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think that's where.
Deep line, as I said at the start, deep line playmaker for me, like a Pirlo, for example, I saw him as a number 6 or a 6.
I wouldn't. I think that's
because the way we describe the midfield too is we say double pivot or double 6. So I think in the terminology we assume that the number 6 would be, they will stay as a number 6, whether they are deep lying or destroyer. So my perception of a number 6 is slightly more, I'd say, comprehend. For me, number 8 has to be box to box or run into half. Barella is the best example for me as a number 8.
Yeah.
Or now he's become more of a number 10. But those runs into the half channels, into the half spaces, breaking the lines, with the ball either carrying it or running into, Gerrard, Lampard, for example. Whereas Enzo Fernandez, I haven't seen him, carry the ball and breaking the lines into the half space, into the final third, nor run into space to receive the ball or to finish off a chance, for example. So for me, I see more of a number 6 element. He takes more of those boxes than a number 8.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult because we're dealing with 70 games basically, and of which I've only watched a subset, which is 7 games in a World Cup. So it's really difficult. I mean, you can have, it's like false nines, I guess. I mean, there's many interpretations of the number 6 or number 8 or whatever, I guess. You can have a defensive 8, an attacking 8, a defensive 6, and an attacking 6. So I'm not too sure. I mean, the thing is that it's because he's so complete, it's very difficult to put him in a box, I guess. I mean, most number of passes he made at Benfica, 109 passes per 90, and the most tackles he's made in a World Cup final since Gattuso in 2006, 10 tackles. Compared to Gattuso's 15. So it's really difficult. And the data that they use to compare him, I mean, FBref is the one that I usually use. They compare his stats with 8 other competitions that are not of the same quality. So South America, other competitions across Europe that are not in the the top league. So it's really difficult to actually see what his stats are like. And often, if you compare it with inferior leagues with inferior players, you're going to get overestimated stats. So it's really difficult to actually see what the stats are showing. So you have to use the eye test a lot more. And that obviously is more subjective and it's left to your own interpretation. So yeah, I'm not really sure. But today he did assist Joao Felix in that kind of half space. So I don't know. Maybe he might evolve into a number 8. But for me, I think him and Jude Bellingham in particular for the future, and maybe Barella, I would say, add to that, are the midfielders of the future, really. You can even have them in a free. You can have Enzo in the middle, Barella on the right, and Bellingham on the left. If any team has a hold on that, and maybe with the Tuchemeni behind them, I guess, if he wants, or alongside Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah, see, that's what I'd go with. I'd want a Tuchemeni of someone of that mold in that midfield.
Yeah,
I think that midfield.
Yeah, I mean, the issue also is that because Argentina play with different systems, it's also hard to judge. And he did different roles, I guess. It's also hard to judge. But for me, because I saw him, I think the average position map showed that he was slightly deep. And he can even play between the centre backs as well if you want him to. So he's a very he's quite a complete, well-rounded midfielder. So all-rounded midfielder.
He's absolutely
it's really difficult.
Yeah, Chelsea got a good player on their hands, definitely.
Yeah, that one, I think, out of all the signings they made, it's the best signing. It's a shame that he's at that club. But I can imagine that just what I can envisage is those diagonals to the wing backs if Potter decides to play with wing backs or with the likes of Mudryk or Mukiele. So see that quite a lot. I mean, the kind of Kroos Modric style, but evolved. You said he reminds you of Xavi Alonso, and that's from a deep position. I said, it's weird to make this claim. Maybe I said he has the potential to be the next Modric.
You think?
All-rounded midfielder, able to. I think there is scope there. I mean, that's might be a controversial take, but I think he could be the next Modric.
Yeah, I'd say if was compared to the Real Madrid team, I'd say Enzo is more of a Kroos, Bellingham is more of the Modric. Okay. That's what I'd say. I think Bellingham's a lot more box to box like Modric.
But Modric can also play. I mean, he rarely did, especially half midway through his career. But he can also play quite deep if need be as well.
Modric can play anywhere.
That's the point I'm trying to make. I think that's what, like Enzo. I think he is complete, can play literally anywhere. Maybe that's what maybe we're both right. I mean, two sides of the same coin. Maybe there is part of that 6 and there is part of that 8 in him. But I don't know. Kroos can play as box to box. Can he? I don't think so. I mean, I know more. I see Kroos more of what he does on the ball.
No, I don't think. Yeah. I don't think Kroos is. I think
seems to have the potential, but I haven't seen it yet. But
a bit better. I think he's a bit better defensively, a bit more mobile as well. But I think ultimately he's that mold of midfielder, really. And that's why, like, for example, Kroos, his best years at Bayern next to Javi Martinez, or at Real Madrid next to Casemiro. His best potential was unlocked next to a defensive mid, a typical number 6 destroyer. That's why I think Enzo, if you replicate that, I think putting him next to whoever they buy as a DM would be ideal. I think that's how you get the best out of him, and just give him the ability to dictate and manage and get on the ball and do what he wants, rather than having to worry about defending all the time and sticking in his position and things like that. Like, just give him the freedom, because he's got the quality to absolutely pick teams apart from deep and hold the ball, and he's press resistant. Well, I just don't think giving him the extra responsibility of holding that number 6 position and watching runners all the time is his ideal game. I just think you're adding extra workload, which he doesn't need. For me, that's just me, though. Yeah.
Or maybe he's that good, like Steven Gerrard. He can do a bit of everything, and put him out wide, put him in the middle, put him deep, and maybe that's benefit and a curse, I guess. But one thing is really reassuring, and I think we can both agree on, is that he has a manager that likes to tinker, and he will experiment with Enzo Fernandez until he finds the right position for him. So we will definitely see what his best position is.
Yeah, we'll see.
But definitely we would like to know in the comments which position do you think best suits Enzo Fernandez? Let us know. Maybe.
And what's your Chelsea midfield 3? That's what I'd want to know.
Good question as well. Yeah,
that's what I'd want to know, because I'd go at the moment with Enzo and Zakaria in the 2. Obviously, Kante ideally if he's fit, but God knows.
I'm not too big of a fan of Zakaria. I don't think he's had the best of careers at Juventus and at Chelsea, to be fair, and that doesn't look very well for a player that's meant to be promising. But yeah, okay,
fair enough. I'd go with Enzo, Zakaria, and probably Kovacic in the 3, and I think that's a solid midfield right there.
Yeah. Would you have Gallagher and Enzo next to each other? No. Gallagher's a 6. Another opens a can of worms.
Get Gallagher out of him, man.
Quite well at Crystal Palace, playing that kind of role, didn't he?
Well, as I say,
box to box, but also very deep. But that's out of off the ball. I don't know with the ball. I don't know how he's like.
To be fair. His quality on the ball isn't good enough. I think at Palace he benefited from teams playing a high line against Palace, which they usually do, with the space in behind, so you can make them third man runs. Whereas at Chelsea, when they have Crystal Palace didn't have much of the ball, let's be real. So his energy and everything was very useful. But when you have 60% of the ball most of the game, what you do on the ball is important, and how you work on the ball. You can't just be making runs off the ball. And I just think at the moment his quality isn't good enough for a Chelsea or a team that dominates the ball. Send him back to Palace or send him to Brentford, somewhere like that.
Liverpool,
I think it'd be brilliant.
£40 million was it for Gallagher and Mount? Get the pair, not to be sold separately. Can you imagine that? The solution to Liverpool's midfield crisis. Is
Yeah, that will
Henderson
be.
in the middle?
Yeah, we'll have to cancel the podcast, bro. I can't lie. We'll have to cancel
Gotta
the
get him
podcast.
out. Could you imagine on either
Nah,
side? Gotta go on the.
nah.
Oh
I won't be able
dear.
to show my face
That's a
on
very
these
Pep
streets
Linders
anymore.
team, to be fair. I can imagine that being if Pep Linders was taking over Klopp, he would have that as his midfield three. A bunch of
Yeah,
runners in, in the 3/8, advanced 10s, whatever he calls them. Intensity. That's what
yeah.
he gets. That would be quite interesting to watch, especially they get torn open by every single team in the Premier League. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, as I said, running hype, energy hype. I don't want a Red Bull midfield. I need some
well,
quality in
Liverpool
there.
didn't they have one of the lowest running stats? So that's easily addressed.
Yeah, but then our possession is going to be 32%, mate.
Well,
we're going to put
play on the
nothing.
counter, innit? You got a pair of runners break into space.
I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you very
Pep
much.
Linders might be reinventing the wheel at Liverpool. Who knows? Yeah, we're a big fan. We're a big fan. Okay, so next topic is Mitomagic, as I call him, Karu
Yeah,
Mitoma.
yeah.
We're both big fans, so we're not going to disagree on this
Yeah.
one. To be fair, and we know his position as well. We're pretty happy with Mitoma.
Well, what's his position?
Oh, I should
No,
have
go
said
on.
that.
Because I don't think we do agree. But what's his position? Go on.
What do you think? I think he's a winger, bro.
I think he's a wing back. I don't think he's a winger.
Wing back. Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think the stats might back me up this time,
Probably.
because his stats, I must say, I did a percentile stats on summarizing the style of play and obviously where he ranks compared to Europe's top 5 leagues. And to be fair, he scores very highly on carries, progressive carries, successful take-ons, final third touches, progressive passes received. So that's a big thing for me. He can't be a wing back if he's receiving it progressively really high up in the pitch. I think that's more of a winger. That's more likely to be a winger stat. And non-penalty goals is really high, 96. So he's in the top 4%. I mean, there's only 4% of, he's in the top, 4%. So only a couple of wingers in his position are better than him at non-penalty goals, which is really, really, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Those don't sound to me as wing-back stats, to be fair.
Yeah, no. Listen, Brighton is playing as a winger at the moment in time, but I think his best position will be in the future as a wing-back. I think he's having a very, very good season, but I think he'll regress back to the mean. Like, I think he's playing very high on confidence, etc. I think his ball carrying is absolutely excellent. Will he score as many goals as he is? Probably not. I don't think he's much of a goal scorer.
Well, that thesis means that he's unlocked something. He's found something that other wingers haven't really. I mean, he's even said that himself.
Yeah. But I just think I can see him as a wing back in, for example, a Conte system. I think he'll be a perfect wing back as a left wing back for Conte. For example, being able to isolate fullbacks one-on-one and having the cover of a centre back, I think will be brilliant. Do I see him? And the reason I say that is I think he likes receiving the ball from deep and carrying it. As a winger, in a typical 4-3-3, for example, you don't really receive it like that too tough. It's more over the top or when you're back to goal. And I think getting the best out of him, for me, in a Conte system, for example, would be as a wing-back on a 2-Chelsea system at Chelsea. I could really, really see him in the future sort of evolving into that. I do really rate Mitoma. I think he's as we know, he's got a thesis on like dribbling, which is quite unique. So he's studied it. He dribbles well, and he's got the evidence to back it up. I mean, he knows what he's doing. But yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant.
I mean, the progressive passes received. I mean, he's in the 83rd percentile, so only 17%, the top 17%. For me, you don't have to receive it out wide in a 4-3-3. You can receive it from between the lines or whatever. I mean, you can have it play through the middle, and then he can run into those half spaces or between the lines and then receive it there. That's still a progressive reception. So, I mean, for me, the only thing that we haven't seen that might be more interesting in their wing back is obviously balls into crossing ability or cutbacks or how he I mean, a ball carrying wing back that carries the ball all the way and then lays it off for a striker is just slightly, it might be a bit too much. I don't know whether, I mean, he has to be a bit more direct, I guess, to qualify for that. I'm just thinking about in a Conte system in particular. He wouldn't, Conte doesn't want, his wing back to carry the ball all the way and then lay it off to Harry Kane. I think he just, right in the box, I guess. But he wants, have it out wide, able to combine, which is another thing that we haven't really seen with Mitoma because he holds the ball quite a lot. So the combination players would have to see more of that in a wing back, to fully assess him as a wing back. How he combines with the wingers, with the midfielders and the strikers. That would be quite interesting to see. Although the only thing that I can actually say from the stats that is encouraging is that his expected assists is quite high. It's 83rd percentile, so top 17%. So maybe, although his assisting is very low. I mean, he's only in the 12th percentile, so bottom 12%, if you like. His expected assists is quite high. So maybe with a bit of teaching, I guess maybe he can evolve into that. But usually you think about like Perisic, you start off as a winger, and then as you get older, you might play as a wing back, and maybe that he might have that element in him because Perisic is quite good on the ball, great dribbler, able to take on. In his prime, obviously, he's not like that now. Although, but Perisic, one thing that stands out and why he is a key starter as a wing back is those clipped balls to the back post. And maybe if we see that in Mitoma, in seasons to come, then yes, maybe I could say he would be a wing back. But so far, given the stats on this season, how he's played, especially against Trent and Patterson, who plays for Everton, he seems to be more of a winger who likes to hold the ball, receive it out wide and then cut in, or he can either receive it out wide and cut in, or he can actually receive it inside and then cut out, which is quite incredible, I must say. We don't have a lot of wingers that are well versed. So, yeah, I mean, it's very encouraging. I mean, he said in his thesis, key conclusions, that I learned that the good players weren't looking at the ball. They would look ahead, trap the ball without looking down at their feet. So he's someone who's definitely very conscious of where he plays and how he receives the ball. And often, considering it's very high and progressive, it seems to be more of a winger rather than from deep, where receiving the ball is not really much of a problem because you have all that space to yourself and you have to then charge. So we shall see. I mean, it is encouraging, but he's a real player. I mean, and even off the bench, he can make an impact as well, as he did for Japan. He rarely played, and he made an impact against Spain. And wow. So yeah. I mean, it's just what a player. I mean, at your expense, I guess, but he is a great player.
No, he is. He's a brilliant player, to be fair. But is he as good as everybody's hyping him up to be at this moment in time?
I mean,
we'll see.
The first season, I guess.
It's been a few months. It's been a few months. Let's see.
A few months. Not even a season.
Let's see next season. If he continues it next season, then boy, we're talking hundreds of millions for him. But we'll see. We'll see.
The only reason why I feel this kind of giddy feeling about him is that because he's joined Brighton, so Brighton's recruitment probably one of the best in the world, and then they know what they're doing. They're on top of it when it comes to stats and recruitment, and the fact that he's already hit the ground running bodes very well for his future, I guess. I mean, if you think about the turnover that Brighton has had to deal with Potter and the start, but also with Trossard, again, another player where he came from Belgium, I guess, and then all of a sudden he became a good player for them, playing really well. And then they got, again, so they seem to have a precedent. They seem to have a model that seems to work. So the players every player that they get you become more confident that they'll be a very good player, that it will work out for them. And for me, that's where that feeling comes from. So yeah, but maybe it's hot shot fallacy. Who knows? Maybe, you expect, because it's been working out this time, you think it's going to continue like that, but not necessarily. It might be, it might fall into rotten luck, I guess. So we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, it's quite a player, I must say. He's a gem, I must say. A lot of Japanese fans in Qatar were really, really big on him, and were a bit annoyed that he didn't play much, actually. But he's got a career ahead of him. So yeah. So I think the last major topic that we're really interested in talking about is everyone's favorite striker, I guess, on Twitter, Kane, Harry Kane, KaneVolution. So obviously, I think we all know now that he scored his 200th Premier League goal, and his 200th, I think it's 200. No, sorry, 200th. Yeah, it is his 200th Premier League goal. Sorry, yeah, his 267th career goal for Spurs. So he broke the record for Jimmy Greaves. Although some people said that Jimmy Greaves scored 268 or 69 because of a charity shield or whatever. So I don't know. I'll leave that to the historians. But yeah, so this record-breaking, performance, I guess, against City, where City had a stinker, obviously, which has not been it's been a long week for City. But Harry Kane scoring his 200th goal and 267th career goal for 200th. Sorry, I'm gonna have to get that right. 200th Premier League goal for Spurs and 267th career goal for Spurs. So yeah, it's been quite a feat, historic feat. So much it properly. So yeah. So where do you rank Harry Kane among the pantheons of Premier League strikers?
Yeah, Harry Kane's been a brilliant striker. As you said, he's evolved his game over the last 2 years into much more of a deep lying forward. He'll pick it up deep and spray past it.
A number 6. He's become a number 6.
Yeah, but it's a tricky one. In terms of consistency, he's always in and around the goals. The people will argue about trophies, etc., but I think when it comes to, his ability in front of goal, no one can really doubt that at all. In terms of the pantheon of strikers, this is interesting. This is really interesting. Would I put him in my top 5? Probably 5th, I'd go, which might be controversial, but obviously you have your Henrys, your Shearers, Agueros, and Rooney's, and I'd put him over Suarez just because of how long he's done it. As you know, for me, Suarez is up there with Henry as the best strikers this Premier League has ever seen. But he only done it for a season, so we got to put that into consideration. I mean, for me, okay, I'll ask you this: who's better in their prime, Diego Costa or Harry Kane?
Yeah, for me, I would say Harry Kane. That's what I'd say.
In their primes.
In their prime,
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember Diego Costa?
I remember Diego Costa very well. I mean,
under Conte,
last best striker. Yeah, under Conte, even under and I think it's under Mourinho as well. Yeah. No, but Harry Kane for me, as you said, this the evolution. That's the point. Tactically and technically, he's become a phenomenal player. I think he's a world-class player. And I don't know how, Diego Costa, you talk about Suarez. I think Suarez is miles above Diego Costa. And yet Diego Costa really was good for a season, maybe 2 if you're stretching it. Harry Kane, I think he's been solid for, I would say, out of the 8 seasons he's been at Spurs, I would say maybe, would you say 6 out of the 8, would you say? I mean, to be fair, Harry Kane, even in his weakest seasons, he just started a lot slower, and then he really rallies up at the end.
Cool. Drogba Harry Kane. This is my interest. Drogba Harry Kane, because I know you're gonna say Drogba goals, but Drogba scored when it mattered. Not only for Chelsea, but for this club that I have on my chest here. Yeah, probably, absolutely, absolute baller. All his goals mattered. Do you get what I mean? Like, he might not have scored as many goals as Harry Kane, but his hold-up play was brilliant. Every top team he turned up against, he absolutely bullied Liverpool, bullied Arsenal. I don't know. You can tell me more about what he
bullied
did.
United.
Bullied United. Every big game, this guy turned up. Every final, he was there. He won Chelsea their first Champions League. Absolutely turned up there. Does Harry Kane have that in him? Does he?
Yes. So the issue so we have to make an important distinction, and perhaps me getting mixed up with the numbers. Okay, so I'm talking about Harry Kane Premier League point of view. And I think as a Premier League striker, I think Harry Kane is better than Drogba. I think career overall, I think Drogba has done something that not many, I think very few strikers have done, is able to pin. I think Osimhen's probably the closest now, is to pin back 2 centre-backs. The ability to take 2 centre-backs out of a game. Literally, I don't think I've seen any, and that really reflects that big time player. He is a big time player. I think the FA Cup record he has 9 goals in 10 FA Cup appearances. Yeah. Every time he's at Wembley, he lives there because he just scored goals there for fun. Harry Kane doesn't have that. He doesn't have that kind of crowning moments, if you like. Is
he elite then?
Who
is Harry Kane elite if he doesn't have an elite moment?
But he's consistent. That's the thing. I think consistency makes up.
Consistently not elite.
No. He's elite, even though he hasn't had that peak moment, if you like. But he's been consistently good, and I think that makes, if you look at it in total, overall, it does make him an elite player.
So if he's consistently good, how can he be elite?
I would say not even good, great.
No, but he's never
moments. But he's scored. I think Drogba's already scored like 110 Premier League goals. Yeah. For a guy who's been there for Chelsea for 7 years. It's not, you'd expect a lot more. I mean, his first season at Chelsea was poor. I mean, he had great
okay.
Let me tell you the 2 elite moments. I think Mourinho's second season and the Ancelotti season really stand out.
Let me ask you this. In 20 years, when I ask you, recount me a Harry Kane goal or a Drogba goal. Whose goals are you going to remember more? Drogba's
Well,
goals,
obviously Drogba's goals, but we're talking.
Yeah.
Are we being subjective here and saying, okay, which goals do you remember, or are we being objective, looking at the stats and saying, okay, he's scored. Harry Kane has scored in his peak season, I think 2017, 2018.
Okay, so what you say you can be elite without having an elite moment? I don't think you can, because even Gerrard, who hasn't won a league title, he had elite moments in the Champions League,
Yeah.
and even in the league, he had elite moments.
Okay,
Has Harry
Paul
Kane
Scholes is another one. He hasn't had what elite moment has he really had? But I still think he's an elite player. I mean, it depends on how you perceive what's the criteria for elite. If you're looking for moments that you'll remember and die, until you die, whatever, it lives with you forever. Okay, fair enough. But if you're looking at, although some would say Arsenal's his performances against Arsenal, I think it might
Harry
be.
Kane?
Yeah, Harry Kane. I'm talking about Harry Kane. Yeah, it might be elite moments. I mean, again, it's all relative. Or you're talking about, consistency, the service. Gerald qualifies for both. He's had elite moments and he's had an elite career. Lampard might be another one, consistently really good, top. But what is his elite moment? What, on the top of your head? I mean, he's had elite moments, but on the top of your head, what are they? So it depends. What's your perception of elite? For me, it's a bit of both. And overall, you can, as I said, it's Premier League striker or player, Harry Kane. Overall, maybe
Where would you put him in
outside
your top five then?
Drogba.
Because where would you put him in your top five
Top five.
Premier League strikers?
Oh, that's a good question. I had to rethink this a couple of times when you asked me this yesterday, actually, because I wasn't really particularly sure the ordering. But I'll probably say Henry number one.
Okay. There's no way you're putting him above Alan Shearer.
Alan Shearer, he got the goal, but I think Henry is the okay.
No. I said there's no way you're putting Harry Kane above Alan Shearer.
Oh no, I'm not putting Harry Kane above Alan Shearer. I think
Alan Shearer second.
Although Alan Shearer, second, prolific goal scorer, but I think Harry Kane technically is a better player because of the positions
Possibly,
that he played in.
Yeah. He's more complete striker.
And maybe more consistent as well. I don't know, actually. Is he more consistent? I don't know. But then again,
No,
Alan Shearer
so.
Shearer has had elite moments for Newcastle, but he's also been very good until he had his injury, I guess. But yeah, I mean, he is top. Yeah, okay, yeah, Alan Shearer second. I mean, I'm probably saying that with a bit of a heavy heart, considering that he's rejected Man United so many times. Maybe Harry Kane might be the one that changed that when he joins us in the summer. Number 3, I'll probably say Harry Kane. Number 4, I'd say Rooney. And number 5, I'll say Aguero.
So you're putting Harry Kane over Wayne Rooney?
I will, yeah, because he's going to break. Number 1's going to break the record. And number 2, I think, I just... Then it's Rooney and Harry Kane.
Over Aguero?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, well... Okay. It's really difficult because what's your perception? I mean... Aguero had that goal, which might be taken away from him. Who knows? Aguero against, to win City the title, he scored the goals, the crucial goal. But then again, that time, his time under Guardiola wasn't particularly good. And I don't know. But Harry Kane has been, for every manager he put, Conte, Mourinho, Pochettino, completely different managers, he's always performing, always finds a way. I think that consistency, that technical and tactical ability and now it's just, for me, I haven't seen that in a player. That evolution is so clear. The only one I'd say I'll compare to, and this might be a bit biased, I guess, is Rooney, because of the way he played as a sacrificing for Ronaldo, playing Van Nistelrooy, sacrifice, and then Ronaldo playing out wide, becoming the focal guy in that 2010 season, then playing slightly deeper under Moyes and Van Gaal and Mourinho. So Rooney might be the closest one, but I think because Harry Kane's going to break that record, maybe Harry Kane is better.
So you're saying,
but then Rooney scored the bicycle. I don't know. I can't give an answer. I can't give an answer.
Just for clarification, you're saying peak Kane over peak Drogba.
Premier League.
Peak Premier League Drogba. Peak Premier League Kane over peak Premier League Drogba.
Yeah, I would. I probably would. Yeah, I don't know.
What's peak Harry Kane?
2017, 2018, I guess. I think he scored. Was it 30? Is it 29 goals in the Premier League?
So
which season?
You referring to?
Was it season that they came second?
No, that wouldn't mean. That would be 2015, 2016.
No, it's 2017. I remember that. Yeah, 2017. It was because that's his best goal scoring season. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it might be.
Yeah. I think yes.
14.
It was the one that Spurs got 86 points.
Yeah. That one. Yeah.
That wasn't the one against. That wasn't Leicester. That was the season 2 seasons after. I think it was when City won it. Was it? Yeah. Gosh, I
Yeah.
on the top of my head, yeah, I remember it's 20 because I was just having a look at his stats. I think it was
This is the interesting one. We'll throw this one out.
yeah,
I think we'll throw this one out to the viewers.
I can't.
Drogba or Harry Kane?
Okay, let's do it like this. You know the famous four in America. What's it called on the top of your head? What's it called? The founding founding fathers. Yeah, let's have that for Premier League. What's your top four? Let's have that. Let's have
Strikers.
In this bracket. Yeah, founding fathers or top. Yeah,
Henry, Shearer, Aguero.
half face. Kane, half face.
Aguero.
It's tough, man. It's absolutely tough.
I just feel like Rooney's best years were not as a striker.
But when he did turn up in 2010, when that goal, the bicycle kick, 2010-2011 season, that bicycle kick against City, that was him becoming the focal point. Eventually, but
then you brought in Van Persie the next year.
Yeah,
and things like that.
Still performs. I mean, like Harry Kane, he is selfless.
As a striker, as a player, Rooney's better than Harry Kane. I don't think anyone doubts that. He's obviously better, but I think as a striker, Harry Kane, I'd put over Rooney.
Yeah, okay, so
yeah.
I think that's important. We have to keep reminding ourselves the distinction, the important distinction. Premier League striker rather than overall striker. So in that case, for me, Henry, Shearer, Aguero, and Kane.
Okay, cool.
Overall, then it'll be Henry, Suarez might be there actually, Drogba, and maybe
best Premier League season ever, Luis Suarez. That 30-40 star. I'll throw that out there now.
But there is Harry Kane, like Suarez, very good with both feet. But Harry Kane has actually got something that no other striker has. Obviously, he tops the charts now with Son Heung-min as the kind of record goal-scoring partnership, assists and goals. But also, he has the most number of goals with his weakest foot, which is 40 goals in total in the Premier League. He is the only player. He's by the way, he's the only player.
What's his bogus stats, man?
No, these are important stats. These are important stats. No, he's the only player in the Premier League to score 30 plus goals with his right, left, and head. Right foot, left foot, and head. That just shows you the versatility of Harry Kane. Yeah, Suarez is known for scoring goals. You know,
the other strikers are versatile, winning trophies. The versatile winning trophies they win. Harry Kane he's got the most goals with his knee, and
statistically, he has the best distribution. So he has no bias. He has no real weak foot. But importantly, though, my point about him being able to play off different managers with different styles of play, I think Rooney's the only one I can think of that can actually enter that discussion. I mean, let's talk about it. Harry Kane started off when he first played under Poch, or even before under Shearer, box, just a proper number 9 in the box kind of striker. Then learned how to press and played up the shoulder. Then he played out wide. Obviously, Arsenal fans will know those goals that he scored were in the channel, not in the box. They were in the box, but not in the middle. They were in the channel. That curler comes to mind. Then the playmaker, and now he's becoming more of this kind of bit hybrid of a playmaker, but not too much playmaking as he did under Mourinho, but more, let's try and get the ball into the box. So, especially this season, he's been scoring off from a lot of set pieces. So, tap-ins, etc., second, rebounds, etc. And that's the evolution of Harry Kane that we don't have with other strikers. Maybe Rooney, if you like. I don't know. Long-range shots, Rooney, set pieces, free kicks, etc. And then, obviously, being clinical in that 2009-2010 season. So I don't know. I mean,
I get it. But listen, give me an elite moment. If you're an elite,
as I said, if you're an Arsenal fan, there's plenty because he scored the most number of goals in derbies and he scored many goals. Chelsea, that season when under Conte, when Chelsea were going through that 14-game winning streak, they lost to Spurs because of Harry Kane.
I hear that, but give me an elite moment for England. Give me
now with extent. Well, England is.
I'm telling you, give me an elite moment in the Champions League.
England,
give me an elite moment in the FA Cup. Give me something. He hasn't given me anything.
But England obviously is going to break the record. What more of an elite moment do you want? He's going to break the Premier League. He's going to break broken Spurs goal scoring record. Probably the Premier League goal scoring record, and England's goal scoring record.
Scoring 3 goals against the part-time PE teacher. is an
against
elite
San Marino
moment.
FC.
Exactly.
Well, they still count it international football. That's the
Listen,
point. And he does it.
the guy just had sausages, bacon, and mash for his school dinner. And he's going on the pitch, and now his Kane's got 3 goals against. I'm not rating that.
Well,
As an elite
who's having the
moment.
sausage and mash? Is it Harry Kane or is it the PE teacher? Because it could be both. It could be both.
Listen, I don't know innit, but all I'm saying is, yeah, I can't tell me about elite moments against part-time.
Elite moments will be in the stats. It will be on the stats.
Elite
not
moments
in the
will
games.
be in the decisive moment when your country needs you, Harry Kane. What did you do? You skied the penalty. That's what you did.
Come on, man. Let's not be
No,
too
no,
cynical.
no. All I'm saying is
come on.
when your country needed you, when your club needed you, you weren't there. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm gonna say is when he said, "Don't give me 2 chances," he was right. Don't give him 2 chances.
Well, when Uruguay needed Suarez in 2014, he bit Chiellini's shoulder. So
listen, they won Copa America with Suarez. Let's not talk about achievements. What's Harry Kane won with England? Don't talk to me about Luis Suarez.
He was in a final at the Euros where he was actually not a very good player. To be fair, I think Sterling stood out in that tournament.
Exactly, he hid.
Harry Kane, perhaps look, even though he's going to become England's record goal scoring, is perhaps the issue that I have. Maybe
another reason you can't compare just ability wise. If Suarez is playing rubbish, he's biting a man off the pitch. He's not hiding. He's leaving his mark literally somewhere.
Yeah, with an 8-game ban and probably I don't know, hundreds and thousands of pounds.
Yeah, but he's leaving his mark. Harry Kane, he just.
I think he will leave his mark on the team that he plays for because they will be needing him. He will be sorely missed, and he won't be there for 8 games. So at least Harry Kane will have the time. He can have one off game, but he'll be good in the other 7. So ultimately, what matters?
All I'm saying is turn up, man. Turn up when it matters.
Kamikaze football from Suarez. That's not what we want to see. No, but I think the most important thing from this discussion is that Harry Kane domestically in the Premier League, I think he's been good. I think issues in Europe for England, even though he's going to break records for England, hasn't stood out compared to the likes of Drogba for his home country, or Drogba in the FA Cup, or Drogba in the Champions League goal. League. So he hasn't had that.
AFCON,
no, I don't think Drogba won the AFCON. I think he was involved during the Civil War. He was actually a key figure in securing peace.
Another elite moment.
It is an elite moment.
Okay, would Harry Kane secure peace if Civil War broke out in England?
You're tempting me to impersonate Harry Kane, but I'm not going to do that.
No, let's not do that. Let's get it cancelled. But listen, hey, no one is Harry Kane.
Can you imagine Harry Kane?
Exactly. That's what I mean. You ain't got that aura. You
won't have the charisma.
So
but the point is Harry Kane domestically at White Hart Lane at I don't know what the postcode is, NW NE something, I guess. He's been very good domestically, be it in the Premier League division wise, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Champions League, other competitions, including international competitions for England. There is no elite moment that perhaps the likes of Drogba, Suarez have. But if we're strictly talking about Premier League, especially if he's going to break the record, which I would like to know what the viewers think. Will he break the record, and if so, when? If he breaks the record, then he's probably going to be the best in the top 2. He might enter that bracket with Henry and Shearer. He might be fighting jostling for that spot. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I must say one of the fun. You talk about my quirky stats about him having a perfect one of the best ratios or distributions of goals scored, types of goals scored, be it right foot, left foot, and the head. One of the best stats that I found I'll share it on our page, both Twitter and Instagram, is his finishing variance. He's taken 1,104 shots, and literally in terms of respective expected goals, it's literally the most perfect symmetry. So one shot will be above XG, another one will be completely below XG, and this is literally levels off across 1,104 shots. I think it's one of the best statistical maps or illustrations, that I've ever seen. Literally, Harry Kane, one shot is good, another shot will be bad, and vice versa. And literally, if you draw an average line across the shots taken, it will literally be slightly above 0. So his shots are slightly better than expected in terms of finishing. So if you have one shot, to save Earth, would you want Harry Kane to be that guy?
Definitely not.
He's on average, he's slightly above 0 if you plot the regression line. So you never know. It might be the critical shot.
Would you?
No, probably not. But I think
Exactly.
statistically speaking, I would want it. If it was for statistical experiment, yes. If it's for my life, definitely not. But I'm just saying, Harry Kane is an interesting player from that point of view. Statistically, he's an interesting player, I must say, and tactically and technically. So you know what? That is his elite moment. It might not be trophies. It might not be in Europe. It might not be in the FA Cup at Wembley. But statistically, he's had his elite moment. Technically, he's had his elite moment, and tactically, he's had his elite moment. And you know what? That's better than football, really. That's better than the trophy. So I'll send that to Harry Kane as well as a postcard, and he can enjoy that. He can put that in his little cabinet, I guess. It's an empty cabinet. You can have it in A3 if you want.
The Zach tactical podcast approval.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and for that reason, he's going to be, he's an elite player to me, and he will break. I think he will break the Premier League record, which if he continues at this rate, June 2025. That's my prediction. He'll break the record.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that comes to light. We'll come back to this.
28 months to go.
We'll come back
That's
to this.
assuming that he plays every single game and he performs at a consistent rate. So.
And what date? What does the XG say about? What's his XT, expected trophies, say?
Expected trophies by June 2025 depends. If he's at United, he'll probably have 5. If it's at Spurs, it'll still be 0. No offense.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but definitely, I'll share that. I think that's such an interesting graph. I literally a mirror. He's got a mirror of shots.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Of shots taken in terms of expected goals. Literally a mirror across. He's consistent. He's consistent in that sense.
Yeah.
He's a consistently great player, but he hasn't had one great elite moment. That's Harry Kane for you in a nutshell.
Yeah. It's 8 out of 10. Well, 7.5 out of 10 player. Yeah.
That's Harry Kane for you in a nutshell.
That was interesting. Yeah. I think we'll wrap this one up here then.
Yeah. Any other business? Any other business before we go, or no? Do you want any highlights from this week's football? Anything tactically interesting?
Any highlights from this week's football? Ooh, that's a good question. Arsenal drawing again, which is good times. City needs to capitalise. Obviously, we're recording this on Saturday, so this is before City play their game
against Aston Villa.
So we don't know the result of that. But it'll be interesting to see if they capitalise. I don't know if City will win, to be honest. I would not be surprised if Villa win. Chelsea don't win again, which is interesting. I think Tottenham in the mud, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's not only Conte that needs his gallbladder removed. It's my gallbladder that needs to be removed because that performance was absolutely a porro show, an absolute porro show.
Yeah. And on that note, with that rubbish pun, Will.
By the way, Sean Dyche, by the way, we have to give him a shout out. Just what he did against Arsenal.
I'm not talking about anything to do with Sean Dyche until we play them.
Oh yeah, on Monday. That'll be great fun.
Yeah, I ain't saying nothing. If you don't see me here on the Tactical Podcast,
stuck in with the tackles,
you know why.
Pickford on Van Dijk and Thiago getting it. That's the beautiful game.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes anyway. We'll leave this episode here for now. Episode 2 done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Take care. This is gonna right. There we go. End recording.